Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Consulog, episode number 57. This is the past week of November 22nd through November 28th. That was Thanksgiving break here in the States. How was your Thanksgiving break, Matthew?
Mine was wonderful. I still have not been back to work since I left for my international vacation. I went immediately from that to Thanksgiving. So I am really excited to get back to work this week. But I enjoyed my family, who were the usual but no more amount of drama, which I would consider to be a win. And yeah, it was a good trip. What about you, Harry?
I was glad to catch up on some sleep. It's hard being a parent, won't lie. It's apparent that it's hard. Some things that I wanted to make sure everyone out there is aware of is that we are on Spotify. If you listen to us on YouTube or anywhere else that is not Spotify, you would prefer to listen to us on Spotify, we are there. The link is on the website, so you're easy to subscribe there. You can go on Spotify itself and search for The Consulog, and you will find us there. I want to say also thank you all those people out there who said hi to us on the interwebs. That was such a nice warm welcome.
Yeah, I've been enjoying all these hellos on Twitter. It validates me when you follow me on Twitter. And if you watch my tech talk that is pinned to the top of my Twitter, that is probably the first thing I say, is that it validates me when you follow me on Twitter.
Always deriving self-worth from others. That's how I live my life as well, for better or for worse.
That's what my therapist tells me to
do. One last note. Hopefully it won't be too contentious, but I'm sure there will be some of you out there who won't be happy. Starting the next year, we will no longer be uploading these episodes to YouTube. So YouTube will no longer be a point where you can actually consume this content. It's for a variety of reasons, mostly pragmatic. The amount of extra time it takes to just make this into a video is not really something that we have the bandwidth for. And also, it's a podcast. Why do you want to listen to a podcast on YouTube? So hopefully,
you got to pay for YouTube Red, and they don't sponsor us.
No, they do not. So hopefully you're not too upset, but if you are, happy to hear about it. Not going to change that decision, sadly. With that being said, let's start the show. First things happening this week, BuckleScript. You might not know about BuckleScript, but it is a key technology that powers this thing called ReasonML. If you don't know what ReasonML is, well, I have so much more explaining to do. ReasonML is a new dialect of OCaml. What is OCaml? Oh, God. Why did I include this information on this podcast episode? ReasonML is a derivative. It's a new thing that the team at Facebook. I got back to the Facebook. ReasonML is a language that's being developed at Facebook. They're using it to kind of make an alternative implementation of React. BuckleScript powers ReasonML, and there's a blog post this past week from the maintainer of BuckleScript about plans for the next half of the year in BuckleScript, things they're trying to do to improve that workflow. The biggest news there is they're actually upgrading the OCaml compiler from 4.02.3, very precise numbers, to 4.06.1. Seems like that was a significant upgrade because there's new features that came in those releases, and I don't understand how OCaml works because I mostly do JavaScript, but suffice it to say, I'm sure it'll make the experience of making ReasonML code better. Mostly just giving you this as an update. I'm excited about ReasonML. If you're not, it's a thing that people are talking about online, which isn't reason in of itself. It's always a thing to be aware of. So they're working on making that better for next week.
If you take nothing else away, just remember, after the holidays, you had to unbuckle your belts a little bit because I ate too much food.
Yeah, that is definitely the story of my life. What is else happening in the land of news?
I will give you a demo, Harry, of the upcoming news, and it's going to be on a board, and it's going to be simple, and it's going to be an editor. And with that, James K. Nelson, who is someone on Twitter, I am not familiar with him. Harry shared this with me. James, if you're out there, you're awesome. I don't know. Anyway, there is a new product called Demo Board, which is a super cool, just like automatic code runner on the internet. It's kind of like Code Sandbox, except there's like no setup. You just type import React from React, and then you type React DOM.render, and it just starts working. I believe there's just like a root element on the page, no matter what, that you can just work against. I started playing with this thing and it was really cool. It automatically reloaded. I built a component and it just started working. I did the super novel counter example because I don't know, unique. I'm special. Anyway, so this thing works. It's cool. You should play with it. And when you want to show off code, you can use this cool project to do that.
Yeah, I think in some ways it's easy to uh, Code Sandbox is to Webpack as this kind of is to Parcel. If you know what Parcel is, it's kind of like a zero config code sandbox online. It has a lot of nice this demo board has a lot of nice defaults to make it easier for you to get up and running. Code Sandbox is also easy, won't lie, but this is definitely a little bit more of an opinionated take on the entire online sandbox. Next, there was a very exciting video that was released this past week from the team at Jest. That's the test runner developed at Facebook, where this is just cool. Like Jest is maintained a lot by community, but also Facebook. But essentially, what they did is they recorded an hour-long overview of Jest architecture, and this is kind of like the same presentation that you might get when you start a new job, where you're sat down by someone who's been there for a while, and they kind of just whiteboard out for you how things work. And the team at Jest they actually recorded this and put it up online for everyone to watch. So if you are curious about how Jest works, you're going to hear it from a core maintainer and creator of Jest itself. I haven't watched it yet in full. It's long. I do intend to watch it. I hope they do something like this for React, because I'd love to see that kind of overview be given in a conversational manner. But I love this idea. I love to see other open source projects do this as well. Just giving this overview in a recorded fashion, as if you were just a teammate there sitting alongside you and showing you how things work.
Yeah, I mean, we always focus on the API, which is kind of the important part for our day-to-day jobs, but it's fun to know how things work under the hood.
Under the hood? You're not joking.
Yeah, under the hood of the Jester, which
The Jester
tells jokes. You want to write something down for us, Harry?
I have the right context for this. There was a new RFC put up by the React core team, ACD Lite, talking about they're proposing a
Wait,
new
do you
AP.
call him AC? Is it ACD Lite? I've always read it as Acid Light.
We'll never know. There's no I.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's no I and there's no E in Flickr.
Yeah, but his name's Andrew Clark, so AC Delight.
Oh,
Isn't that Delight?
You know what? I'm gonna keep reading it as Acid Light.
I mean, you do you. Just don't say it like that. You can read it, but you can't say it like that.
No, I'll keep saying Acid Light.
All right. So he opened up a new RFC for React to create a new API for React's context, which is context.write. And the summary kind of gives you what the point of this is. It's an extension to the context API for updating the default context value, such that it would allow for React managed state that lives outside the UI tree and is shared across routes. The subtext there, and when I read it, is that if you're using something like Redux outside of React, they're creating and thinking about ways to actually have that external state be then reincorporated back inside of React. That's kind of one of the big challenges that they're grappling with right now with concurrent React, is figuring out how to make sure that data is consistent across renders. And one of those things that's even harder is when you have multiple routes on a page. So if you have an old legacy application that you're incrementally moving towards React, and you're rendering multiple React DOM routes, you need a way for that data to be in sync across those routes. So this is kind of the motivation for doing this.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting just that they're bringing all these things into the core React library. We saw this with hooks a couple weeks ago. We've seen it with suspense and lazy and memo. All these kind of things that used to be in userland are slowly moving into the React package itself. React is actually, it seems to be becoming more opinionated, which I'm kind of okay with.
Yeah, me too. Speaking of opinionated.
Yeah, speaking of opinionated, so lots of people had opinions on hooks. In fact, there were 1,100 opinions on the hooks RFC on GitHub. That's 1,100 comments. and the RFC was merged. There was also a couple of interesting takeaways from the RFC itself. As far as what they were going to do after they merge it, they noted a couple of bugs that are lower hanging fruit. They also noted that use mutation effect isn't necessarily useful because refs aren't available at that time. They have thoughts on use imperative methods, use callback, etc. So anyway, it's worth reading, clicking through the link and reading just kind of the things that they realized are the edge cases that the community pointed out. But for the most part, the hooks we saw 2-3 weeks ago are the hooks that we are going to stay hooked on. So hook, line, and sinker, we keep making that joke because Harry and I think it's funny.
It's so good. Hook, 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 hook.
Okay,
Speaking
Captain.
of, yeah, it's exciting. Hooks is coming. Be prepared.
That's not from that movie.
It's okay. I won't get sued by the copyright people. There was a nice blog post of a summary from the Chrome Dev Summit that happened, I think, around a month ago. The Chrome Dev Summit is I guess it's a conference put on by Google and all the Chrome Dev relation people there, talking about upcoming APIs that are coming in Chrome itself, like Chrome proper. This blog post was a nice little update, giving you all the highlights that happened from that. Some that I was kind of excited about was trying to bring in native lazy loading in Chrome, where you can actually have on an image tag a lazy load prop that tells Chrome how to, and also it says it's already available in Internet Explorer and Edge already, which is awesome. But if you have this lazy load property on an image tag, the browser will only load the image when the image is scrolled into view. So that's a nice little thing that you kind of just leverage the platform, which is always nice to see it doing for you. There's other things in here about portals and like transitions with portals. There's a cool demo around that, but there's also a lot of good YouTube talks. So if you're curious about that, definitely check out those YouTube talks online. Moving right along, one of the most popular CSS and JS library styled components has, in my opinion, finally added native support for the CSS prop in its library. If you use CSS and JS, there's ways to write it with like objects and things like that. But there's also been this nice little API where if you have a React element, you can actually have this magical CSS prop where you can inline all styles in line with the object, kind of like inline styles, but through the magic of Babel and other tooling, it'll actually extract those styles and actually make them proper class names and optimize for your application. So Style Components has finally added support for that. I use Emotion a lot for my CSS and JS, and that's had that support, I think, since the beginning. But it's great to see kind of libraries come into parity in terms of features, and then they kind of just fight on speed and all that other fun stuff that I don't ever have to worry about.
Also, if there are competing libraries, then we don't have other people coming up with ideas. Then we're just in one big circle, and that's never fun. And
Yep.
speaking of ideas, our fearless Twitter leader Dan Abramoff had a great tweet this week, which was, "How do you know if a test sucks? You changed something that wouldn't be observable to the user of your app, but the test broke and you had to fix the test." So this is just kind of a nifty idea that he had. Which is just that our tests should be testing things that our users understand and that our users expect. They shouldn't necessarily be testing implementation details of your code. So that was worth noting. The other thing is, so I'm going to tell you a story, Harry, about my Thanksgiving adventure.
A story, huh?
Yeah, it was on Friday, or Black Friday, and it was about 10:30 in the morning, and my sister and I are driving to family breakfast, and I get an email in my phone from Cards Against Humanity that they are having a 99% off sale. And I was like, oh shit, this is exciting. So I click through, and the first thing they're selling is a $20 bill for 20 cents at 11 a.m. And I'm out to breakfast with my family, and I pull out my phone at exactly 11, and my sister and I are both trying to get the $20 bill, and I am a fast typer, so I did get the $20 bill. And then 10 minutes later, there was another sale. And then 10 minutes after that, there was another sale. And this kept going all day. And in fact, once I got home, I proceeded to spend the next 8 hours on my laptop on this website watching the sales every 10 minutes. And I did end up making one big purchase. I got a bust of former President Obama for $5. I did win that. But more interesting is I also was like, hey, I've been on this website all day. I should see how it works, especially when you're like rushing to buy stuff. So it was a really cool kind of implementation, just like a list of things they did that I thought were nifty. First of all, they implemented it with Vue, and they had just a few components on the page. I installed the Vue Dev Tools, which I've never used before because I'm a React person, but I enjoyed kind of poking around that and seeing the way they built out the product page. They also had a really unique take on the CAPTCHA. Instead of having a traditional obnoxious Google CAPTCHA, they had a trivia question. So in the case of there was like a pirate ship and it asked what Blackbeard's real name was. There was one where it was just like type Antarctica forwards and then backwards and then forwards again, and they just like they made that their CAPTCHA. But it was really interesting. So you click the button and then the CAPTCHA loads, and then you get a token from the server, and then it takes you, it pulls up a pop-up that allows you to buy the thing. And they also made the user experience really good for a website that had a quantity of one item to sell. They intelligently handled 500. They were just like, oh, the server's 500ing, someone else has probably bought the thing. Let's just show the user a confirmation page, which I found hilarious. And then, like, even when they do charge your credit card, they were just like, yeah, hey, a lot of people are trying to buy this thing. We have charged your credit card. We sent you an email, and I really did get an email. And then, like, 5 minutes later, they let you know if you were actually the lucky person, which I was in exactly one case. But in most of the cases that I got charged, I was not the lucky person. So there was a guitar signed by former President Jimmy Carter that my credit card was charged $23 for, which ended up being refunded. There was also a hair drying aluminum bonnet thing that my sister wanted that was 10 cents that my credit card got charged for and then was refunded, but I'm not terribly upset about that one. But I did get the $20 bill, and I also got a poop poncho, so a poncho that you can poop in, which I am excited to see how that works.
Well, it's going to be raining in Manhattan today, so you can try it out if you want to.
Yeah, it's been pouring all day, and
it's been a
that
real
is my
shit day.
update from Thanksgiving, where I reverse engineered the Cards Against Humanity website, and by reverse engineered, I mean opened a developer console while I spent 8 hours looking at a website when I should have been hanging out with my family. And speaking of family, you know what time it is, Harry?
What time is it, Matthew?
It's time for Matthew's jokes, or
Matthew's
dad jokes.
Matthew's jokes. It's Matthew's jokes time.
That's a different theme song than last time, but
really?
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's going to be different every time.
So these jokes are all from Zach Argyle, and these are off of a Twitter thread of his for your reading pleasure, a thread of dad jokes about web service workers. So first one is, where does the service worker wash his hands? The background sink.
Yep, that's a joke.
What did the mean girl say to the service worker? Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, that's a Mean Girls reference right there for everybody out there.
Yeah. Fun fact from the Cards Against Humanity thing, I did not win the signed Mean Girls poster. I was very disappointed about that. It was $8, so $8 marked off from $800.
Wow.
Final service worker joke. How did the service worker pay for dinner?
How?
With cash.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
That is your episode. We are light on content because it is the week after Thanksgiving and nothing happens over American holidays, or at least not on our end. Harry, do you have anything to say?
We got just about 20 minutes. I think a little shy, but who's counting numbers?
I will edit it and add something to make it over 20 minutes.
I mean, if it's just one long Cards Against Humanity theme song, that might be fine.
The game has not aged well. Like, it just gets boring over time, but their antics are incredible.
Yeah, the company is aging better than their progeny.
Yeah.
That's episode number 57. We're on Spotify. Thank you for saying hi. We look forward to hearing again from you next week.
Buckle up. Next week will be a normal paced episode.
We'll be ringing in December for fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Wee! Bye!